All right, everyone, now it's time to start talking about irons. Jake is still here to help us out, and this one is probably one of my favorite categories to talk about. That's going to be our top 3 most forgiving irons of 2024, and really in no particular order. But Jake, one thing that I really liked we're seeing the industry trending to, and we'll see from some of these, is this new high launch category, or really it's a trending back towards closer to true lofts anyway. So we saw some loft jacking over the years. Give me your thoughts, I guess, just on that topic before we get into the clubs.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I could go into a very long rant about loft jacking and what it actually is and what people don't understand about it. But I think it's cool that we've gotten to the point where essentially the speeds are overtaking the loft jacking. So we're starting to go back the other way where it's so fast now, we're getting hybrid numbers off of irons basically. So they have to bring those lofts back so that the ball doesn't go tremendously far, which is really cool. And it helps the player that these are designed for. And that to me is the most important thing. It's what we talk about here at GOLFTEC as well. You come in for a fitting because you want clubs that are going to make you play better, hopefully ignoring any ego you have about it. So clubs like this, where they're starting to develop that and just get the ball up in the air for people, is so cool. And I love the addition of these in the lineup. Yeah,
and we'll get started with our Titleist. This is our T350. So in my opinion, this is just such an awesome looking game improvement. Hollow body construction in there to help you hit it farther. Hitting the ball forever with a driver is great.
Yes.
With an iron, hitting it forever is great as well too, if it stops on the green.
If it stops, yeah.
The problem a lot of people run into is now these things are launching head high, and maybe they do go farther.
Yeah.
But if it hits and rolls off the back, that's not helping you out.
Yeah, and it's important for everybody to know too, like this is not just, we didn't just pick 3 irons today and decide like, oh, these are the most forgiving irons. There's objective data here and then also all those fittings that have been done. So
yeah, we have a whole lot of things that go into what makes an iron forgiving. You can have just the loft to help you hit it up in the air, but then the sole width, if you do hit it a little bit heavy, a wider sole can help you out, or the amount of offset to fight a slice in many cases.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then also some of the data we've collected through all the fittings we've done, in the tens of thousands of fittings, really just in the first quarter of this year alone. And really how we have landed on these 3, there's really 2 categories that I looked at the most. One was just dispersion. There was some of the tightest dispersion with these irons, but then also the best launch and landing angle, coming back to if I hit this into a green, is it gonna stop? Where we had some irons that certainly went farther, but if they're landing like a driver, again, that's not helping anybody out.
Yeah, this is one of those things where golf geeks like myself, I'm not going to take myself out of that equation. Everybody wants to try to get back to that spin number relative to the number on the bottom of the iron, which you and I both know is no longer applicable. Like that went out the window 5-6 years ago. So to try to chase that it's not worth it in a fitting bay. But when we see something that, okay, so this has a 7 on the bottom, and we're way below that 1,000 per number, but we're landing at 52, we're fine. That spin number doesn't mean anything when you're at 52, and I hope people really realize that and like take away from this that particular fact. And also, looking down at this, just to give a little on the T350 here, this looks like your forgiving country club guy, the guy that doesn't want to show his buddies that his bag is full of game improvement irons. This looks like that iron to me.
No, I think it's a great way to put it. It looks awesome in the bag. It's a Titleist iron. It's always going to look good. But there's a lot of technology hidden in, honestly, it's a big package, but when you put it down, it doesn't seem that
Yeah, it's
big.
pretty sleek. They do a really good job hiding that cavity in the back,
Let's move on to our next one then. Mizuno it's the JPX923 hot metal, but the HL, the high launch version. Again, I've just loved this category from everyone's doing some version of it now, where they're making a higher launch version of their really their primary game improvement iron. Hit it a little bit higher.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when we see these kind of speeds with that low of spin, again, just to reiterate the fact, this is me repeating myself. When you see the ball coming down at that steep of an angle, you don't have to worry about it. So for the person that this is designed for, and I think that's where we get lost in a lot of this conversation is you have, scratch guys or 5 handicaps complaining about the loft of an iron like this. It's like, that applies very little to you at all. Like that doesn't mean anything to you, but the guy that this is for is going to love this and it's going to help them play better golf.
Yeah, and there's a lot of ways. I think focusing on that descent angle, if you had to pick one number out when it came to an iron fitting, getting that in the mid to high 40s, even low 50s, depending your speed, would be awesome. There's a lot of ways to get there.
Oh, that went so high.
You can make the ball, 26. 55 on the landing angle.
Whoa.
You can make the ball come off the face really fast. That's one way to get the ball to peak higher and land more vertical.
Yeah.
You can increase the spin a lot. There's a lot of ways to get there. Ultimately, to your point, if you're landing it at 55, and obviously that spin's higher, but
Yeah.
if your spin was even 4,000, but you're landing it more vertical, you're going to hold most greens.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, of the bunch, I think the JPX, the 923 hot metal high
Look
launch,
at that just go.
it's got a little wider sole. Yeah, these are moon balls. A little bit wider sole compared to the rest of them. So if you do have a tendency to hit it a little bit on the heavier side, this would be an awesome one to check out. The fat shots are just going to want to dig less. It's like an insurance policy.
Yeah, absolutely.
A heavy shot's only going to be so good, but we can make better bad shots.
Yeah, people talk about bounce all the time when you talk about wedges, but it's just as important when you're talking about a game-improved iron like this.
Absolutely. All right, last one up. Let's go now to our AI smoke in the HL. So probably similar size, I would say, to the T350. Not quite as big as the 923.
The 923 definitely had a little more offset too. You could definitely tell that they were doing more in that club to save the slicer than maybe these
if you
other
slice
ones.
the ball, more offset the better, honestly. It's just going to give you that little extra time to get some face closure and fight those shots off to the right.
So that was a little chunky.
A little on the heavy side. That's okay though, because again, you have a little, wider sole compared to if you're getting an old Wilson Pro Staff or something. And even just some of the camber and the grinding of the sole plays a role in that as well too. Just a little more shaping to the sole can be another feature they do to help fight some of the dig in there as well too.
Yeah, I love that they've done a little bit of shaping here to come back in the heel, and they narrowed it up in the heel because they know that when somebody at the level of this iron chunks a ball, they're chunking it through the heel. So that's saving them coming through the turf so they get to that wide part of the sole, which helps them save that ball, which is exactly what just happened there.
And we haven't seen one with a descent angle of less than 50 yet, so the technology works.
We're still not going to see one. No way.
Oh no, might be one of the higher ones.
Oh, yeah.
52. So again, all these, even with if you're using 7,000 as kind of your standard for spin, again, very few are going to be spinning a 7 iron that high anymore. Really, if you're just hitting on a launch monitor in your garage or at a golf shop and you're just messing around with some irons, you want to be landing in mid 40s. Again, pushing 50 degrees would even be great. I'm pretty confident saying it's going to stop. But if you want to do it the right way, what you really need to do, go into golftec.com, find a local GolfTec coach near you. They'd be more than happy to help you walk you through that fitting process. But Jake, always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks again for helping us out.
Thank you.